Hello, flamingos, and welcome to Disrupting Obesity. I'm Charlotte Skanes, and I lost over 200 pounds without surgery, without fads, and without hating myself through the process. I'm here to help you unlearn what the diet industry has been feeding you and to talk about what it actually takes to lose weight and keep it off. I want to help you make real mindset shifts and start to build trust with yourself again, all while giving you the tools that you'll need to do it, but without losing yourself or your mind in the process. It might be Monday, but we're not starting over. So brace yourself, Gladys, and let's get into it. Ahoy, ahoy, flamingos, and welcome to episode 115. Yeah, 115. Unbelievable. It's also unbelievable that this is the 15th part in our series, 101 Weight Loss Truths. I started out doing them really fast. Like the first one, I think I did 20. And then I thought, you know what? These things are actually kind of important. So maybe I should give them just a little bit more time. So I've been taking my time as we work our way through the rest of the list. And you guys have been loving it as much as I have, which is awesome. So let's get going again. Weight loss truth number 85 is that you're allowed to lose weight for whatever reason you want. For whatever reason you feel like. If you want to lose weight just so that you feel like you look better in your jeans, go for it. Do it. However you want to. I had enough of this years ago, but I'm really fed up with this whole, if you're not losing weight for whatever reason Gladys decides is the right reason to lose weight, the way that you're doing it doesn't count, or your whole journey is somehow invalidated because you were doing it for the vanity metrics. Do it for the vanity metrics. Go ahead, fill your boots. It's okay. I know that we get shamed for this. Like, the only reason to want to lose weight is so that you'll be there to play on the floor with your grandkids. That's a great reason. I'm in no way knocking that as a reason, as motivation, as any of it. But if your reasons don't look like that, it's okay. Your journey is still valid. What you're trying to do still counts. And there isn't a right reason to want to lose weight. It doesn't have to be some noble pie in the sky thing that's all about other people and, it'll just be easier for everybody else in my life. Who gives a shit whether it's easier for everybody else in your life? I don't. I mean, if you do, that's fine, but you don't have to. You can want to do this just for you. And you don't even have to want to do it because your doctor told you to, or because you're afraid of diabetes or fatty liver disease or whatever else. And all of those are also extremely valid reasons to want to lose weight. My point is, they're not the only reason to want to lose weight. And they're definitely not the only valid reason to want to lose weight. So you don't have to feel like, you're not justified or that, you don't have the right to your feelings. You do. You have the right to feel like when I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see and I want it to change. That is 100% valid enough. It is. And I've never been part of the camp of the school of thought that, it has to be for one set of reasons over another set of reasons. Any reason works. Anything, really. And we have to stop. And I know we're not going to because it's just an evolutionary function of our brains, but we have to stop judging each other for these choices. And really, if somebody else has got something to say to you about this, it's none of their business. I can't for the life of me understand why anyone would look at someone who is struggling with their weight, who clearly needs to get their weight off, and they're doing everything that they can, and you're going to stand in front of them and tell them that, oh, well, you're not doing it for the right reason, so it doesn't count. No, horseshit. It's all horseshit. Just completely put all of that out of your head. You can do it for your jeans. You can do it because you want a thigh gap. You can do it for, I don't know, whatever your reasons are. They're all good. Number 86 is one that I get a lot of questions about, but typically people prefer the answers to be private on this one, which I respect and understand. It's my job to talk about them. So instead of having you have to send in a question, I will just talk about this. Number 86, loose skin happens, but it's better than the alternative. When it comes to the physical changes that my body has been through, the thing that I definitely get the most questions about are the loose skin. It's the loose skin questions, hands down. Everybody's worried about loose skin. And I get that. It's unsightly. It's not I'm not exactly happy with my loose skin either, but I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday if the alternative is going back to weighing 300 pounds. No, I think I can handle the loose skin. I see a lot in online weight loss support groups. I see a lot of people coming in who are at the beginning of their journey, and the attitude sometimes is, well, if I'm just going to end up with loose skin, then I'm not going to bother. It does kind of hurt my feelings when people say to me, if I'm going to look like you, I'm not even going to bother. And I don't think I have to explain why that's hurtful. It really is kind of a horrible thing to say. And I hope nobody ever says that to you. I do. And I realize that it's my fault because I put myself out into the public space. So I invited this in. But you'd be surprised the number of people who don't know me online and just know me in real life who have said shit like that. So nobody's immune to it. And you haven't done anything wrong if people are talking to you like that, because people are just going to talk. That's what they do. Loose skin. Here's the big thing with loose skin. It's a genetic lottery. That's having spoken with multiple plastic surgeons at this point, and I've had at least two, I think three of them told me that I have about half as much loose skin as they would expect from someone who's lost over 200 pounds. The reasons being my age. When I lost weight the first time, I lost my weight the first time I did it in my 20s. The second time I lost weight was in my 30s. So I was young. I hydrated like crazy inside and out. That's the best advice that I've probably got for you is hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And you don't have to. So I was moisturizing my skin and I was doing pretty much from head to toe. You don't need an expensive lotion or a cream. I bought whatever was in a clearance cart at Walmart or Shoppers Drug Mart, like whatever I could get, the cheapest I could get it. If it like said firming lotion or something, I would go for that. But I just got whatever was on sale. We were broke kids. I couldn't afford anything ridiculous. But every single day, I tried to do it at least once a day. And that I think really helped. So that was a big thing, was staying really well hydrated inside and out. The other thing was, and actually I probably misspoke, this was probably, aside from genetics, this was probably the biggest factor. I lost my weight slowly. The first time around, I lost an average of 1.55 pounds a week. The second time it was a pound a week. So I was right in the zone of kind of the ideal amount of weight to be losing every week. And like I said, that was an average. We've talked about how nobody does this in a straight line. So that was just an average when I looked back, because there were weeks where I lost nothing. There were weeks where I gained. There were weeks where I lost 2 pounds. You know how an average works. By losing it slowly, my body had kind of a chance to catch up with me as I was going along. It wasn't sudden. I think a lot of the images that we see on social media, when someone's lost their weight quickly, typically with a bariatric surgery, and they're dropping their weight really, really fast, that's when you can get those images of the aprons and the hanging skin and things like that. I have hanging skin, especially on my arms and my legs. I cover it up. I like to wear compression garments. I'm not comfortable with it. I would love to have my arms done at some point. I would probably never do my legs though, just because the recovery from that surgery. No, thank you. Uh, I've heard it's especially brutal and one of the hardest ones to recover from. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I'll ever put my body through anything like that electively. I'm not sure if I've got that in me, but I would like to have my arms done at some point. And I knew they were going to be a problem before I lost weight. Like I could just look at my arms as a 300-pound person and go, yeah, there's no way these are ever going to look like they would have looked if I had not gained the weight. Like it's not going to happen. Please don't let the fear of loose skin be a barrier for you to weight loss. Loose skin is always going to be better to deal with than complications from obesity. It's not always pleasant and it's not always fun, but it's definitely better than being 200 pounds overweight. I would never go back. I would never trade my loose skin for the weight ever. And I think honestly, when I see those comments in the weight loss groups where it's like, I don't even think I want to do this if I'm going to end up with loose skin at the end of the day. And I feel like that's the self-sabotage goblin, just sitting there in somebody's brain being like, no, you don't want to lose the weight. Just keep eating the way that you're eating. It'll be fine. Who wants to deal with loose skin? It's disgusting. Unfortunately, it's, you've got another little voice sitting there telling you that you are disgusting because you're fat. So it's one of those weird weight loss paradoxes, I guess, that we can get into in our brains. Don't let the fear of loose skin stop you. It's not worse, I promise. And you especially don't want to let it stop you because you don't know which way this is going to go. You don't know. You might be like me. You might have hit the genetic lottery and the doctors will be like, this is incredible. You should have way more loose skin than this. You did a good job moisturizing. You lost your weight slowly, whatever. You don't know where you're going to sit on that genetic lottery. So it's worth a try. And I mean, for me, it's like, okay, if I hadn't lost the weight because I was afraid of what my arms were going to look like, I was already afraid of what my arms looked like. I was already covering my arms at all times. There weren't compression garments back then big enough for me, and I couldn't have afforded them even if there were. But if I could have, and they were there, I would have bought them and I would have been compressing my arms at that size. So it's not like I'm actually any worse off now than I was or than I would have been if I just kept the weight on. I'm still covering up my arms because that's what I'm comfortable with. Loose skin isn't really the issue here. I know how disappointing it can be when you get to your goal weight and you had this idea in your mind of what your body was going to look like once you got there. And instead, you have this slimmed down body, but you also have this skin as well. And it can be heartbreaking. It can be really disappointing because you thought things were going to look one way. I used to have boobs that were as big as my head. I can barely fill a training bra now, and most of that is just loose skin. So I really get the heartbreak. I really, really do. But a lot of this stuff is fixable, and the skin is better than the weight. Hands down, the skin's better than the weight. Number 87 is safety nets help you soar. So I have this thing where, and I explained this when we were talking about the 20-minute rule, that's the only time that I use that word. I don't like the word rule because, well, you don't like the word rule. None of us do. It makes us all sort of, shut down and not want to pay attention. It's not really motivating to have a whole bunch of rules. Safety nets, on the other hand, are very, very helpful. And I understand that some people fire back at this moment with, that's just a semantic difference. You're just using another word. Yep. Okay. I'm all right with that accusation. You're not entirely wrong. But the reality still stands that when someone hears the word rule, they immediately push back. They get their back up. They're like, oh, wait, what? Whereas we say safety net and it's like, what? What is, huh? Here's why we say safety net. We say safety net because of trapeze artists. And you're probably thinking, what the hell does a trapeze artist have to do with losing weight? Here's the thing. Trapeze artists can soar through the air, right? They learn how to do that and they're like, look at me go. They learn how to do that and they're comfortable doing that. And I'm going to interrupt myself here for just a second because I am sure there is some circus loving Gladys out there who is going to write in and be like, you know nothing about the history of trapeze. That is not how we train trapeze artists. I can just see it now. You're right, Gladys. Okay, so let's do a little disclaimer. I am about to make this following statement, knowing absolutely nothing about the actual history of trapeze and knowing very little about the history of circuses generally. I'm still going to make this statement. Emails be damned. Okay, we can go back now. So when you're learning how to be a trapeze artist, I imagine that one starts with some sort of a safety net, a netting, a mesh beneath you, so that if, while you're learning to soar through the air, you fall flat on your face, you're not going to smash it off concrete. You're going to bounce off the net. That is where it ties in to weight loss. We have safety nets, not rules, because safety nets give you the freedom to soar because you know you're not going to fall on your face. That's why. As soon as you tell yourself it's a rule, I can't eat after 6 p.m. It's a rule. How well is that working out, Cheryl? It's not working out. It's not. We don't like rules. We just intuitively push back against them. But what if we had a safety net in place instead? And safety nets don't have to be carved in stone. They don't have to be rules. They're just safety nets. So let's do a couple of examples. When I was losing my weight, I had a safety net that I could not eat with my refrigerator door open. Maybe that seems a little too specific, but it was a problem for me because I would just be bored And I'd be like, I'll just go see if there's anything in the fridge. And I would stand there with the fridge door open, probably eating. My brain wasn't registering those calories because I was taking them in on the go. I wasn't registering those calories because I was looking for other food to eat while I was eating. Remember the whole hands should be empty while you chew thing? The fridge door should be empty while you chew too. So that was a thing. So one of my first safety nets was I couldn't eat with the fridge door open. I couldn't eat standing in the fridge. I couldn't eat while I was in transit from the fridge to wherever I was taking my food, because that would be something I would do. I would go to the fridge to grab whatever I was going to eat, some leftovers, whatever. And I'd be like, oh, look, cold cuts. And I just grab a couple cold cuts and eat those while I was taking the food I was going to eat to where I was going to eat it. No dice. I had a no eating in the car safety net because I had a problem with drive-throughs, and I liked to go to the drive-through, get something to eat it in my car, and hide it. And sometimes I would go to the drive-through and get like the meal that Sean and I were going to have. But while I was there, I would also get myself like a little pre-meal for in the car, and I would eat that snack first in the car, hide that garbage, and then bring the meal home and act like I hadn't just, basically eaten an entire meal in my car. So the safety net became no more eating in the car. And I can't make blanket safety nets for you because they're going to be situationally specific. Maybe the safety net is on Wednesdays, I'm going to make sure that I've done some meal prep and I've got, I don't know, something high volume and low calorie sitting in my fridge ready to go because I know that I call my mom on Wednesdays. And when I call my mom on Wednesdays, I get triggered. I get off the phone and I start looking for something to eat. If there isn't something there for me to eat that's a better choice, I will start making shitty choices. Safety net. We're going to meal prep on Wednesdays. Safety nets are little systems that we put in place to help yourself soar and set you free. You're not going to bog yourself down in a whole bunch of rules. You're just going to have these little safety nets in place for yourself. Oh, hey, wait a minute. No, I don't eat with the fridge door open anymore. I'm just going to grab this, put it on a plate, and take it over to the table. Safety net. We're not falling on our face because we're standing there stuffing it with cold cuts. Number 88 is meet yourself where you are. And this one, it sounds really simple. It sounds like a bit of a cliche. A lot of people use that expression, but I really, really can't overstate how important this one is. And it ties into, so many of these are intertwined because you need to meet yourself where you are for a bunch of different reasons. The main reason you need to meet yourself where you are is so that you don't set yourself up to fail. It's so that you're setting yourself up for as much success as possible. We decide that we want to change our weight. Right? I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to do this once and for all. I'm really going to take it on this time. Awesome. But then instead of figuring out where you are right now and meeting yourself where you are right now, instead you decide that you're just, going to go into the kitchen, throw out all your carbohydrates, start eating single ingredient, whole grain, whole organic, purity ring wearing food. And then what? How long can you keep that going? Now, if you were already 3/4 of the way there, that's a different thing. But most of us aren't, especially when we're starting out on our weight loss journeys. Where are you right now? This is why when somebody starts with me on my system or they're just looking for general advice, and I don't just apply this to calories. You guys heard me talking about this just a couple of weeks ago about intermittent fasting. You need to know where you are now so that you know how to make the small incremental changes. Unless you meet yourself where you are, you just end up with this pie in the sky ideal of where you think you should be. This is what someone who's losing weight should do. This is what losing weight looks like. Okay, that might be true, but then you've got the weight loss is relative thing, right? So yeah, maybe someone who only has 5 pounds to lose because they've always weighed 110 pounds and now they weigh 115 and they're freaking out about it, which is valid. They're going to have to take different steps than you will if you've got 100 pounds or 50 pounds or 200 pounds to lose. It's not going to look the same. To meet myself where I was when I was starting, and I mean, I was starting in the peak of the 1,200 a day, 1,200 calories a day advice and, Atkins and all of that shit. Eat 35 small meals a day, but don't eat any of them after 7 p.m. That era of weight loss advice. Meeting myself where I was then meant realizing that I was used to taking in about 4,200 calories a day. If I tried to cut 3,000 calories a day from what I was eating, I would have lost weight. It's undeniable. I'd have been in a massive deficit, especially since my TDEE was only 30, well, only, it was 3,500 calories at that point. So I had a lot of room to play with. But if I'd gone from my TDEE of 3,500 and I was used to taking in 4,200, to be clear, because I was still very actively gaining weight when I started losing weight. If I'd done that drop to 1,200, I wouldn't have made it. Maybe I could have lasted a couple of weeks. You can't just cut 3,000 calories out of your day and think that you're going to make it. It's not sustainable. It's not feasible, and it's not reasonable. It's a shitty expectation to put on somebody. I had to take a really serious look at where I actually was. I was not somebody who weighed 115 pounds and had a TDEE of, 1,200 calories to begin with. That wasn't where I was at. And I needed to be honest with myself about where I actually was. I had to be honest about when I like to eat and why I like to eat, which you guys know the answer. I like to eat at night. And I like to eat at night because of comfort, reward, and cope. I can want to be a morning person all day long, but I'm not. And I'm probably, menopause hasn't really hit yet, so that could still come, but I'm really not a morning person. I'm a night person. Forcing myself to front load my day just because breakfast is the most important meal wasn't going to help me out. It certainly wasn't going to help me last the 2.5 years I needed to get that weight off. I had to meet myself where I was. And the thing about meeting yourself where you are is it's a continual process. It's like spread, sprinkle, pour. It's going to evolve with you because where you are is going to be continuously changing. It's going to be evolving. Where I was at 338 pounds was a very different place from where I was at 200 pounds or 250 or 150. Losing weight is a series of just continuously looking in the mirror and meeting yourself where you are in that moment, letting go of those expectations, letting go of the pressure that comes from toxic diet culture and just our culture generally about what the right way is to lose weight. It doesn't matter where somebody else is. You need to be interested in where you are. And if we get like super practical and super literal with this one, meet yourself where you are. Imagine you were getting off a train and someone was coming to get you. Would you tell them to meet you 3 stops down the line from where you actually got off the train? No, that would be ridiculous. You're not going to be there. You can see what I'm saying. I wasn't there. I could have told myself, oh yeah, no, I'm on this train, but I'm going to get off at the 1,200 calorie stop. Okay, that's interesting though, because your stop is 3,500 calories, not 1,200 calories. And the reality is your favorite stop is 4,200 calories, which is way down the line from 1,200. So how do you actually expect anybody to be in the car to pick you up at the station if you're not at the right spot? You have to meet yourself where you are. You're not going to believe this one, flamingos, but after weeks of only getting through 4 of these, we're going to do 5 today. Oh yeah, you heard me. We're doing 5 weight loss truths this week. Now it's kind of connected to the last one, but you know what? They're all kind of connected in some way. Number 89, and this might be everybody's least favorite of my weight loss truths. Number 89 is tracking a binge is always better than not tracking a binge. And I think you can probably see why that one goes hand in hand with meeting yourself where you are. If you're not willing to actually look at where you are, it makes it a lot harder to meet yourself there. I know tracking binges is utterly terrifying. It's disarming, it's disheartening, it's discouraging. It makes you feel like shit about yourself. I get it. And you guys also know that I'm always the first person to tell you not to do things that make you feel like shit about yourself. This time I am. But I don't want you to feel like shit about yourself. We're going to do this so that we have it as a tool. We are collecting data. That's what we're doing. That's what this one's about. And I'm going to tell you why. And there's a couple of different reasons why. Reason number 1, it might not be as bad as you thought. And I learned this one very early on. Like I learned this one in the very initial months and weeks of my one-on-one coaching business where I was walking people through this. And I'd be on the phone with And I'd be on the phone with a client and she'd be like, oh my God, I went totally off the rails. It was a nightmare. I've blown my whole week. I've been beating myself up for days. I'm not sure if I should eat today. And on it would go. And I'd be like, okay, whoa, hang on, slow down. Let's figure this out. And I would start taking people through the exercise of tracking afterwards, which you guys know I don't like because that's just journaling. We like to track while we're eating or before we eat, but that's neither here nor there. I would take them through it afterwards. And what we found, a shocking percentage of the time, was that the binge wasn't as bad as they thought. And they had spent days beating themselves up. And most of them either went one way or the other, where they would try to heavily restrict their calories following a binge, which doesn't help. You know, it doesn't help. You know, from experience, that does not help. So we would either try to heavily restrict our calories because we felt so guilty and shameful, or the guilt and shame would lead to, okay, we had a big binge on Tuesday night. Guess what Wednesday turned into? It turned into a full day of eating because we felt so bad about Tuesday night. And Thursday also kind of sucked because we had like a half a day there of really crappy eating because we were still feeling bad about Tuesday because we've got the guilt and shame hangover going on and we're still caught in that spiral of beating ourselves up. When the reality was Tuesday wasn't half as bad as she thought it was. But Wednesday was pretty bad and Thursday was pretty bad too. So instead of just holding at where we were on Tuesday, picking ourselves up on Wednesday and just try to keep going as best you can, the fact that we didn't know the number made it into something bigger than it needed to be in our minds. It turned it into this massive, big, scary demon thing of you went on a food binge, you're a bad person, and all of that. You know the drill. I don't have to tell you the drill that happens after one of these things. But if it wasn't as bad as you thought, what have you been beating yourself up for? And you took in all those extra calories because you were feeling bad and you didn't need to feel bad. The binge wasn't that bad. So there's that way of looking at it. You need to know just in case for those reasons. Here's the other reason. You need to know so that you have a baseline. And this is where the data collection comes in because we need to have a baseline. Okay, you went on a food bender. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you feel like you fell out of control and that you had a really bad day and you fell into your old habits and old patterns and you resorted to using food to help you deal with this. Okay. How bad was it? Well, it was 6,500 calories. I had a 6,500 calorie day. Okay. That's not a great day. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's not a good day for anybody. I got it, but it happens. And it can happen to pretty much anybody. But the binge is over. The milk is spilt. The toothpaste is out of the tube. And I don't know if you've ever tried to get toothpaste back into a tube. You can't. That's the short answer. It's not, I don't think you can do it. I don't think anybody can do it. I don't even know how they get it into the tubes to begin with, but I'm pretty sure it's not through the hole it comes out of. Instead of beating yourself up for the binge, though, what we're going to do, because there's no point, you're going to hear another one of these little truths coming out soon about how there's no backwards, there's only forward. Yeah, it holds in this situation too. You can't undo the binge. Beating yourself up for it, not helping. We've also very clearly established that. But what we can do is we can take that number, 6,500, and the next time you feel like you're going off the rails, you got a line to get under. Okay. The last time I pulled this stunt, I went on a 6,500 calorie bender. I am not doing that today. I know I'm out of control. I know that I'm using comfort, reward, and cope right now. And I know that I'm in big trouble, but I cannot go over 6,500. I can't. And this time you bring it down. And you've got a way to help yourself quantitatively improve. It's not just that, well, I'll do better next time. What the fuck does that mean? What does that look like for you? I'll do better next time. Well, does that mean that you don't do it at all? Does that mean that you binge half as much? Well, how much is half? Because you don't know how far over you went. You see where I'm going here? You can see what I'm driving at. You have to have a baseline so that you can make those improvements. It's no different than the mayonnaise or the salad dressing. Until you know how much mayonnaise you're putting on that sandwich, you can't make a small incremental change. I'll just use less. Okay. Less than how much? Oh, well, I don't know. Less than usual. Okay. How much do you usually use? Well, I don't know. I just see it. You see the issue here. You need to have a binge baseline too. And you need it as much for that practical number to get under as you need it for the mindset part of, I'm rebuilding trust with myself. I am actively going to do something to help myself if I find myself in this situation again. Next time, I'm going to do better. What does better look like? Well, it's going to be better than 6,500 calories. I can tell you that. That's a fucking answer. That's an answer. I'll do better. I'll do better next time. Will you? I hope so. But if it's just a wishy-washy statement like that with nothing actually behind it, how are you helping yourself to do better? Just telling yourself, do better. Better than what? You have to quantify it. That's all I'm saying. And that's why tracking a binge is always better than not tracking a binge, even if it makes you feel bad. It's better to feel bad in a really qualified way like that than it is to just feel bad generally and in an open-ended way that you don't really know how bad you feel because you don't know how bad it was. You're just going to beat yourself up. No, you guys know I'm never going in for that. Now, part of the reason that we did 5 this week, I was being a little bit sneaky, is because I know that next week we have 5 that have to be done together. If I break them up, it's not going to make any sense. And yeah, it's not logical. So we're not breaking them up. We did 5 this week and we're going to do 5 next week too, which for anybody playing along, we are currently on number 88. Next week, we're going to finish up on number 94, which will mean that after that, we only have to get to 101. So there might possibly only be 3 more episodes, including this one in this series, but I actually think it's probably going to be at least 3 more just because, well, you guys know that I left some of the good stuff till the end, and there are probably a few things that you're like, wait a minute, she says that all the time. Why haven't I heard that yet? You haven't heard it yet because it's at the end of the list. Thank you for listening, and thank you for doing the work. This isn't easy, but you're still here, and that counts. It matters. You're showing up. If you've subscribed, shared, or left a review, thank you. It really does help more than you know, and it also makes it easier for other women to find this podcast so they feel a little less alone on their journey. If you want more support, resources, or info on the program or the membership, check out disruptingobesity.com or come see what I'm up to over on Instagram. You know where to find me. Come tell me how I can be helpful. And in the meantime, keep trying, keep tracking, don't be intimidated, and don't give up. You've totally got this.